Draftaholics, how you doing? Week 5. We are officially into the second quarter of the fantasy season.
Wow.
We have a good feel for how everyone's doing. We've had 2 teams finish up by, another 2 more, Chicago and Tampa Bay, who, by the way, has a quarterback change as expected. Jameis Winston. The Fitz magic has ended.
Fitz tragic has begun.
Fitz tragedy.
It's Winston time. The cycle, the endless cycle of Ryan Fitzpatrick becoming a backup to excelling to like a starting quarterback to dropping back down to complete irrelevance again.
That meme
has
is
begun.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Yes, if you haven't, maybe I'll find the link in the show notes. What's up, everyone? We are the Draftaholics. I'm your host, Matt Savoca at Draftaholic. And today in the fantasy porthole, the circular screen here, it's George Slotin.
That's me. At George Slotin. Hey, to Jameis Winston, do not steal any more crab legs or you will be benched.
Yeah, there's a lot of things he should improve on, to be honest. We'll leave it at that on this family-friendly episode.
And I'm William Spinato at W Spinato on Twitter. 2 N's, 1 T, and a W as well, I guess.
Yeah, he got a W. That's right.
W.
Yeah. Finally got the 5 points in the draft. George, the streak continues. Oh, man.
In almost all of my leagues, the streak continues.
We were listening to the fantasy footballers, and I know one of them has a team in their league of record that just isn't working the way it. There's always a team that feels like it was a juggernaut right to start off. All the strategy was sound, and hey, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles in these games.
That's what daily fantasy is for, though, right? Like, let's win $1 million instead, or maybe just $8 from my friends every week. Or
that's right.
Most weeks.
Absolutely, yeah. Just even small stakes, high stakes doesn't really matter. Make fantasy football, make football fun on Sundays, however we can.
Yeah.
Well, some teams are not having so much fun, and I want to talk today a little bit about the NFL teams who are underachieving so far this season. We've got a couple of teams here who made the playoffs last year and find themselves at a 500 or below record. All of them in somewhat of a state of panic. The Steelers last night got thoroughly outplayed by the Baltimore Ravens.
I sure did.
Really loved watching that, as you guys all know.
I'm sure you did. The Patriots had a get-right game against the vaunted Dolphins, who fell towards the sunken place, especially their quarterback, Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, tanked me in 2
The other
leagues.
teams I can think of, the Vikings, who got shellacked on Thursday Night Football by the Rams. The Falcons cannot catch a break, and they lost to the Bengals on the rise as well. And the Eagles just getting healthy, but they are also a 500 team. So, William, I'm going to shoot it to you first. Which of those teams do you think have the best chances of getting to the playoffs, even though they only have a 500 or worse record now?
I'm going to go with the Falcons and the Steelers. I also like the Patriots and the Eagles, but just talking in terms of offensive production so far, the Steelers have been either number 1 or number 2 so far in terms of plays run, and they're scoring a lot of points. I feel like they have just had some missed opportunities and gone up against the vaunted Ravens defense.
My goodness.
Yeah, but also the Falcons, they've been up there in terms of total offensive yards. They put up more than 500 yards last week. I feel like they've just kind of like missed a couple of tough breaks. I feel like when they get Freeman back, Matt Ryan is slinging it. It's going to work out for both of those teams for sure. The Vikings actually are scaring me a little bit. First of all, the performance a couple weeks ago against the Bills, that was scary. They definitely have the weapons, but something is not getting right. I have a feeling it might continue to go that way.
That offensive line needs to do something. I don't care how efficient you are in first down runs. That doesn't necessarily change the outcome of a game, but if you can't get that going, you're going to have some more trouble on play action passes and getting Thielen and Diggs the looks that they deserve, as well as Kyle Rudolph.
Right, and so they're already in a hole. It's going to be hard to climb back from there.
Great division as well. George, how about you? What's your feeling on those teams?
Yeah, it's never good to be in a hole.
You're in a hole right now, buddy. I hate to break it out to you, but you're in the fantasy porthole on this podcast.
That's right, the porthole. I'm just going to go with one team. It's the Steelers. I mean, obviously, as a Falcons fan, I'd love for them to make it. But if I say they don't, and they do, I'm happy. And if I say they do and they don't, I'm sad. So I'm going to say they don't. So the Steelers, they're 0-2 at home. They're 1-0-1 away. And they're usually a good team. We always usually a good team at home. We always talk about the Big Ben home road splits. And those haven't necessarily proven true this year. He's just been playing pretty well everywhere. The rest of the season, the total defense efficiency, strength of schedule has the Steelers as the 9th easiest rest of the way. They're going to play the Falcons, the Broncos, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Patriots, and the Saints. All of those are outside the top 18 in most efficient defenses. So they have a fairly easy schedule, definitely on the top third of easiest schedules left. And like William said, they have all the playmakers there. I think the more they're away from the Le'Veon drama and the Antonio Brown drama is gone, Juju is setting himself apart. Vance McDonald is sending people to the IR.
Yeah.
Team's got weapons. I like it. I certainly see them moving forward as a top 500 playoff team.
From 500 to playoff team. Guys, I cannot believe you are not talking about the Patriots. You guys don't think the Patriots are the most likely of this tier to make the playoffs? They're 2-2 right now.
Yeah. No,
they're going by the time you hear this opening though, they may be 2-3 if they lose to the Colts on Thursday Night Football, but I fully expect them to be 3-2 and find their way into the playoffs. So they're my number one highest probability to get right. They crushed the Dolphins. Just beat the souls out of the Dolphins.
CBS stopped airing it here in New York. They actually switched over to another game, and we had to go to the Sunday ticket to watch it.
They were thoroughly definned on Sunday. Yeah. So that's my highest probability team. The Eagles are next for me. So I hate to sound like I'm just queuing up last season's stats, but I believe that those are the two most likely teams to make it. Then it's the Steelers. So the Steelers are number 3 most likely. I think the Browns are improving. The Bengals have improved. And the Ravens are clearly a better team.
It's a very tough division this year,
much closer to those 2012, 2013, 2014 teams that really competed for the top of the AFC. The Falcons and the Vikings are in trouble because the NFC is a juggernaut conference. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they can come back. I like how we're just laughing off the Bills. Guys, it's not your season. Sorry, Bills. But the Falcons and the Vikings are where I'm really focused on, can they even do that? Okay. So I was looking at that same rest of season stat you were looking at on Sharp Football Stats, George, and I noticed that the only positive rest of season schedule in the top tier, above average, for those NFC teams is the Eagles. And from a narrative standpoint, they have the best story going for them. They have Wentz back, they have Alshon back, they have Jordan Matthews entering pseudo fantasy relevancy. We've mentioned him a couple times on the show. Had a great long touchdown.
Ajayi's playing again with or without a full spine.
Yeah, so I think that is actually the most likely NFC team to get right, and the division has some weaker play or some variance in their play with Dallas and Washington. So I think the Eagles have the best shot. The Falcons and the Vikings, they've got a big hill to climb.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dig into our week 4 hits and misses, and we'll start with our week 4 draft. William Spinato, holy smokes, at W Spinato, part-time fantasy analyst, full-time draft champion. Look at this score.
I'm taking this if you ain't first, you're last mentality to heart here, which apparently I can either come in 3rd place or 1st place only, but hey, I want to...
That's right, taking it down from the 2nd spot there. I had Kamara, Barkley, Hill, Breeze, and Juju Smith-Schuster. George had Michael Thomas, Todd Gurley, Odell Beckham, Pat Mahomes, and Gio Bernard. Mahomes pulling it out Monday night in that second half. But William, tell him the winning lineup that got you 5 points as opposed to George's 2 and my 0.
My lineup was Gordon and Zeke. Who actually happened to also be my cash smash. Julio Jones and Antonio Brown and Deshaun Watson, who came through popping up to his ceiling once again. 128 points has me firmly in 1st place. And then Michael Thomas underperformed a little bit along with Drew Brees, who I talked about on Matt's team. And then Odell Beckham didn't pop like you expected him to. A lot of the targets ended up going to Sterling Shepard.
They sure did.
He had a touchdown or 2? No, he just had 1 touchdown. But definitely a lot of targets and receptions eating into Beckham's production. So, hey, I'm your proud champion here, and I'm looking forward to another win this week.
Yeah. Let's go into our week 4 quick shots, hits or misses here. Our cash smash. First, we'll up Jarvis Landry, wide receiver 29. That's not quite a cash smash. Calling it a miss for yours truly. Odell Beckham at wide receiver 33. As far as the price goes, no way. That's a miss there. And Zeke Elliott, RB2. Unequivocal. That's a hit. Oh, I almost called that an unequivocal miss. That would be wrong. Speaking of unequivocal miss, Faded Glory. I said Zach Ertz was one to avoid in week 4. Couldn't be more wrong. Tight end 3, up to his old usual ways. Dallas Goedert took a step back as well as expected. So that's a miss for a fade. Tom Brady was QB 11, but at QB 2 price, we talked about it off air. Yeah. It's close.
George gets a hit there, I think. Yeah.
I think when you fade the QB2 overall, and when he gets QB11, he's middle of the pack. That counts for us there. And Jordy Nelson, wide receiver 16.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper had his big day. Exactly what you said you were fading, and yet Jordy Nelson's still a viable starter in all formats.
A little bit of the overtime game there causing the scoring to go up. I don't think it was a horrible call, but yeah, you're right. It's a miss on the fade.
80-something points scored in a game. Lots of fantasy relevancy.
Absolutely.
Into the floor play. That's the ugly touches. They're top 24 at their position or top 12 at the quarterback, and they're not priced so. Austin Eckler, RB18, total hit there still. And Melvin Gordon producing right next to him. Really cool to see. Tevin Coleman, while Devonta Freeman's out, it's almost too easy.
Yeah.
Same thing with Gio Bernard. They're both fill-in, chalk running backs. No problem playing them while they're the lead dog. Both of their workhorse backs, Joe Mixon and Devonta Freeman, expected back in week 5. The ride might be over for those two for now. Both super talented, though, must say. And the moonshot. Antonio Callaway had multiple dropped end zone targets.
Yeah, it was rough to watch.
Beautiful from Baker Mayfield, and he just squandered it. Wide receiver 50.
It seems like my moonshot call is more of a curse than anything else, but yeah, I pity the players who I pick.
And 2 weeks from now, he's going to have a huge blow-up week, and you're going to be apoplectic. Michael Crabtree also took a back seat to John Brown and some of the tight ends in that Ravens game.
Shout out to Deshaun Jackson, though. Another 100 yards.
Just keeps on rolling. I want to see how it looks in week 6 with Jameis Winston. Does he focus on the tight end Cameron Brate, especially with us hearing that O.J. Howard's going to miss some time, even with their bye week. So we'll get back to that week 6. Finishing up here, Trey Burton.
That's a hit.
They wanted to avoid it, guys. They didn't want to talk about it because Trey Burton and Taylor Gabriel hit. So the process actually said it was because of Gabriel being beat up, but there were multiple ways for Trey Burton to hit, and we got one of them.
He hit real early, too.
He did, first drive of the game, big 40-yard touchdown. Felt awesome. I was texting our group thread. I was going crazy. So that is our week 4 wrap-up, and in our Draftaholics standings, you'll see we're all caught. We're all in a pack here.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
But it was pretty much a break-even week as far as the quick shot goes. The only thing I get those 2 shots, the moonshot hit, and
touchdown.
That touchdown feels nice. Our one lineup to rule them all. Back to our normal ways here, even on Tuesday afternoon with no help from your numberfire.coms, your fantasy footballers, your Action Network, whoever you're listening to these days. We were able to get you to 97% of the FanDuel cash score and 89.9. So 90% of the DraftKings cash score. Even with the Drew Brees. I cannot say his name.
You have a lot of trouble there.
The Drew Brees flop. He had 8.58 points. That is atrocious for the price he paid, but everyone else did just fine and dandy. Carlos Hyde, Gio Bernard, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Tyler Boyd, really coming up in Cincinnati. Trey Burton, the moonshot hit of the week. Sterling Shepard, a bigger week than Odell Beckham. And the Chargers, mediocre, but get the job done. If you pivoted away or got one of those defensive touchdowns, Green Bay was a great pivot. You're looking at a cashing score, no problem, with very, very little research there. So that's the kind of results you're used to from the Draftaholics. We give it a B grade because we're just dang hard on ourselves. But that's the kind of research you're usually going to get. The process was spot on. So with that, we're reviewed for week 4, and that means second quarter time. Week 5. And just like that, week 5, here we go. It is an awesome slate, although, unfortunately, we don't have Alvin Kamara or Ezekiel Elliott on the main millionaire slates, the 1 p.m., 4 p.m. games on Sunday, because they play Monday night for the Saints and Sunday night for the Cowboys against the Texans. So there's going to be some more chalky running back plays. You're going to see a boost in ownership to that lower RB1 tier, your Christian McCaffreys, your Saquon Barkleys. But nonetheless, there are some tremendous matchups to watch. That's as a fan, as a fantasy analyst, these are the matchups we cannot wait to see this weekend. William, let's start with you. I was looking at the show sheet, and this was my second choice. It's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, I think so. I'm really excited to see the Falcons at the Steelers. You know, as we talked about earlier, I think these two teams might have a shot at making the playoffs. We've got to see if they have a chance to do so against each other. It's a unique situation. I think it's going to be another high-scoring game. The Falcons put up over 500 total yards of offense last week, and the Steelers hopefully are going to have a better week in terms of offense than they did against the Baltimore Ravens at home. But it is their second week at home. I think they have an opportunity to get right, and they're facing a depleted Falcons secondary.
We're going to keep talking about it. They are not going to be right all year.
Right. I think I want some pieces of this game, in DFS, whether it's paying up to get Julio and AB or some cheaper guys like Vance McDonald, the tight end in Pittsburgh, or Mohamed Sanu, who caught 6 of 9 targets for 111 yards last week, which makes him less touchdown dependent than Calvin Ridley. Maybe you have an opportunity to cash in on some targets there and not pay as much. Ridley, we were noticing earlier, is like a whole tier above him in terms of price at the wide receiver position on DraftKings. So yeah, I'm excited to see this game. I'm excited to see if one of these teams can actually pull out a win rather than just some offense.
Right.
But either way, it's going to be fun to spend some money on them in DraftKings
from a fantasy
FanDuel. Yeah, because they are going to produce yards and produce points for you. So yeah, that's my matchup to watch. I'm looking forward to it, as I'm sure you guys are too.
Which wide receiver in Atlanta do you think goes off this week as Atlanta homer, George Sloten?
Ridley.
You think it's
Ridley?
Even without the volume?
Even without the volume. I mean, it's like every week I think Will Fuller's not a play. What are you going to do? What are you doing picking a person on DFS that's going to get 4 or 5 catches at max? And he always scores a touchdown. I saw that Calvin Ridley touchdown. I swear, I was watching it in real time, and I did not see the ball leave Matt Ryan's hands or catch Calvin Ridley. So it was so fast. It was like he knew he was going to him immediately, just like Deshaun Watson locks in on DeAndre Hopkins, like 4 yards in, those same slant routes. It's his new target. It's his new favorite target.
They've unlocked that magical teleportation between that super speedy gadget
it looked like
that the ball can do.
Go ahead.
No, it looked like a Madden glitch.
Yeah. Did you
guys hear that turn of phrase though? Deshaun Watson locks in. Sorry, I got a kick out of that. All right. But you're exactly right. It doesn't take a lot of volume for a great receiver who's just starting to get noticed by the defensive secondaries.
Hey.
One mismatch is all it takes.
Hey, everybody. Here's his autograph. There you go.
Really? Right. Look at that. Hey. Look at that from the fantasy porthole.
That's right.
Showing his value there. Thanks, Sloten. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
All right. So my matchup to watch this week. We'll get back to you, George. We'll let you have it.
No, I don't want it.
There. No, you're getting it, I swear. It's Monday Night Football for me, guys. Saints and Washington. They had a tremendous game last season in New Orleans where they went into overtime. And the Adrian Peterson factor, if he plays, that is, he's questionable, I believe, at this point in the week. That's a great little narrative game, but on top of that, these are offenses that are really cooking with gas right now. Alex Smith, not the downfield thrower we saw in Kansas City, but not making mistakes. They are scoring with efficiency, and that defensive line for Washington is causing problems. They were all over Green Bay in their last game in week 4, and I think that is the only way to really slow down New Orleans, is not let them get into rhythm. Drew Brees is going to have a game plan to stop the blitz, to stop the defensive line pressure. I'm never concerned, but like we saw this week, a 9-point fantasy dud for Drew BBBBBs.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be catastrophic, and yet Alvin Kamara keeps on being the number 1 overall fantasy player we've ever seen this generation.
Yeah.
So maybe he's matchup agnostic. Fine. The rest of the game, I'm so excited for. Chris Thompson, fire him up if Adrian Peterson misses. Can't wait for that Monday night game. Okay, George, what is your matchup for week 5?
I can't believe I'm choosing this as my matchup for the week.
I was about to say that too. I can't believe you're choosing it either.
Neither of these teams really excite me, but for some reason I'm drawn to it. It's the Cardinals-49ers game. I was super interested to see CJ Beathard take over for Jimmy Garoppolo. They made it actually, I was expecting the Chargers to just destroy them, and it was a 29-27 road loss. It was very, very close. This game coming up is a divisional showdown. I actually, no one's fighting for the first place position in the West because the Rams lock it up within 4 games. But I actually think, call me crazy, the 49ers may have a chance to play to take over the second place over the Seahawks. I don't necessarily think the Seahawks are anything special this year, and I am all on board with this George Kittle madness. Josh Rosen wasn't great, speaking of Cardinals, and going back to the Cardinals-49ers game. 49ers through 4 games have put up 100 points. Arizona's only put up 37. But the 49ers have given up 118 points, which is the most in the NFC West. I don't expect the Cardinals to put up 118 points, but I think they could put up a few. Like I said, George Kittle, definitely someone to watch. CJ Beathard loves him. I hear they sleep together in a twin bed. I don't know. Unconfirmed.
What is it
I'm
with
looking.
your...
I've been checking Josina Anderson's Twitter all day, and I cannot confirm that, but we will see. As a Breida owner in a couple leagues, I'm happy to see his uptick in snap count percentage. I think he's still a little banged up. He was out for a little bit with the shoulder injury too. I hope he comes back essentially fully healthy. I'm not sure if he's going to be near 100% by that time, but it's a game that I'm interested to see. I'm all for Josh Rosen being successful, and I always want to see Larry Fitzgerald play well.
Yeah, I really think this is an interesting matchup to see the state of the NFC West besides the Rams.
Right.
Like, we just assume that the Rams are at this place where they're at the upper echelon of the NFL, but the rest of that division, they could easily be playing for one playoff spot with the NFC or the NFC South especially beating each other up to the point where they may not have the records that the rest of the division who avoids them has. Okay. So I kind of like that. So we might just see some sloppy football, though.
Wouldn't it be crazy? Would it be crazy if the 49ers went to the playoffs? I mean, just crazy in general, yes. But I think it'd be... I don't think it's... I'm sorry.
Considering the state of the division, no, it's not a crazy call.
Yeah.
You could have easily said the NFC is too difficult in 2017. There's no way that Nick Foles takes this Eagles team to the Super Bowl, and yet here we are with the Eagles Super Bowl champions just a year ago. So I never want to say never. This George Kittle connection is real. He's just being showered with targets, as Roto World mentioned.
That's right.
So I do think that that's a really interesting matchup. I do think the sloppiness percentage may be higher than some games there. So, William, why don't you break down our Week 5 3-person draft that we did? This one was, we're getting that running back in the last round strategy. We're just queuing it up like our favorite track on a playlist.
Yeah,
at this
sure.
point.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you notice that George and I had both taken 2 running backs, and you don't have to take one. Why wouldn't you just wait until the last round? So George got the first pick again, that lucky dog. He got to take his boy Alvin Kamara. And Matt had the second pick, so he took Gurley, and I had the third pick, so I took Gordon. I think this week, those 3 guys are must own. Obviously, it should go that way in the first 3 picks of the draft. I did not take Gronk. So then the second, I'm just going to finish out each other's teams rather than running down the snake. George filled out his team with Christian McCaffrey, then Julio Jones.
Please never say running down the snake.
Interesting. McCaffrey, Jones, Thielen, and Matt Ryan to complete his little Jones-Ryan stack. Matt from the second slot picked Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Ben Roethlisberger, another stack with Antonio Brown there, and Ezekiel Elliott in the last round. And then I drafted from the third slot. I got Barkley, Michael Thomas, hoping to bounce back from that poor week in the Saints.
There he is.
And I was finally allowed to draft Tyreek Hill again, and he's on the road, so he can win my week. And I always love Cam Newton at quarterback. I think he's got a great chance to score really well this week, and I wanted to kind of bite into a little bit of the Christian McCaffrey love that George is going to get. So I think it's time that we break down our Istics in regards to this draft.
Yeah, and obviously we're coming at this Monday. We did a crash research on all of these slates, but we can't get hyper specific and accurate with our projections at this point. So there's going to be a little bit of research that we continue to do with this week. The first thing you said is totally correct. Start with that RB1 floor. It's very easy. I know every single week with the way this Rams offense is playing that Todd Gurley is going to start off in the RB3, 2, or 1 category, and Antonio Brown is going to be in the wide receiver 3, 2, or 1 category. So stack him with Roethlisberger, add a healthy DeAndre Hopkins who's not dealing with hamstring injuries, because Will Fuller, who continues to catch touchdowns, will eventually not catch touchdowns, leading to other receivers needing more touchdowns. This guy Hopkins, pretty good.
He's pretty good at those contested catches.
Finish it out with Ezekiel Elliott. We're kind of done. I hate to steal from heuristics here. I know that's yours. You're possessive of it.
We can all share our Istics.
But that is going to be a median projection that once I stat it out completely, that's just perfect. For me, it's going to win. It's going to be much better than last week, the runner-up. And you guys can Istics away because I'm done here.
Just
leave. So I was really happy.
Bye, Matt. Step outside.
See ya. I hope he has a sleep number bed, as you've spoken to earlier. The strength of sleep number beds at home. George.
Yeah, man.
So in terms of my Istics this week,
we have to do some analysis on that.
Yeah, we totally do. I was pretty happy that Melvin Gordon fell to me there at the 3. I mean, not really fell. It's the first round of a 3-person draft, but I'm going to talk about him a little bit later in my cash smash situation. I feel like Barkley's going to get a lot of usage as well. It's it's a nice combination when you have the floor of so many receptions in Barkley, and I really do feel like Gordon is matchup proof. Then I was finally allowed to pick my ultimate ceiling guy, who I feel like, I mean, I know it seems like I'm just kind of beating a dead horse here, but Tyreek Hill is the kind of guy that can unlock a game and completely break an entire DraftKings slate. So I'm going to want him in this situation. And Cam Newton is quietly performing like he should. I mean, it feels like
the way that you draft him in the offseason.
Exactly, right. And so I feel like we talked about him a lot in our early versions of this show when we were doing some best ball drafts, where he was kind of the quarterback along with Drew Brees, who was he was not one of those that you had to reach for by drafting in the first 6 rounds, but you were not sad when you kind of threw late quarterback aside and grabbed him. So yeah, I feel like I'm always happy to have Cam Newton on my team, and I'm interested to hear what George has to say about his little team here on draft.
What's the story?
For those at home that don't know the game of football, there's 100 yards. They're like little dashes between every 3 feet, and that's called a yard.
Okay.
So there's some players that are known to do really well between like the 20 and the 20, which would mean 20 yards away from each goal line. And then there are players that are really good within the 20 yards of what we call the end zone, which is where the team actually scores 6 points. Julio Jones doesn't like scoring 6-point touchdowns, and it's not his fault. It's not. I don't know what his fault is, but he's somebody who is so talented and gets so many yards and catches and targets on a high-flying offense. Matt Ryan is the QB 2 through 4 weeks. Guys, Julio cannot find the end zone. This is the week. You always, when you go to a roulette table in Vegas or Atlantic City, wherever, and you see that the last 12 numbers were black, you're like, it's got to be red. I'm betting red. And then it's black again. I know the gambler's
fallacy says it doesn't have to, but it feels like
that's
you're
what
right.
You feel it, okay? He's had 3 touchdowns in the last 20 games, guys. He had one crazy week last year with like 2 touchdowns and 250 yards. He had 1 touchdown one other week, and no touchdowns for the rest of the season. Guys, it is time. It has to break. Julio and Matt Ryan, stack of the week.
Is he becoming like the rich man's Amari Cooper?
God, no, because Amari Cooper is nowhere near as good.
It feels weird, but there are definitely comparisons.
That is rude.
It's like we've seen the big games, but we can't possibly bet on it. Like, I never thought I would say that about Julio Jones, but it's kind of becoming a thing.
Guys, Julio Jones is that guy that catches the 55-yard Hail Mary that ends at the 5-yard line to end the game yesterday or on Sunday. So, and in regards to the rest of my team, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, they're target monsters. They run, they catch the ball, they get 30 touches a game. Adam Thielen against the Eagles secondary. I'll leave the heuristics and logistics to y'all, but the story of this week is Julio and Matt Ryan. It has got to land. Julio, I'm calling out to you, buddy.
All right, so the stack of Julio and Matt Ryan going to lead George to that victory, that first victory, week 5. I really believe it. And Alvin Kamara, of course, and CMC could be cash smash plays for all 3 of us every week. So,
all right, George, I do have one question about your story this week. You started off with Alvin Kamara, and guess who comes back off suspension? Mark Ingram. Are you worried?
Jonathan Williams? Who is it?
Yeah, he's being re-signed.
Mike
what if
Gillislee?
He gets to start? Yeah, exactly. He's the next Ingram. But yeah, he comes off suspension. Yes. What do you expect?
So, Matt, didn't you have both Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara on your team last year?
It was a joy.
Did you win or lose our league of record?
You're looking at the champion.
And you're not. You were looking at 3 people right now, but yes, you looking at Matt. If you're looking at Matt only, and
you're looking at the champ.
But if you're listening to Matt speaking when Will and I don't speak. That being said, don't care. Fire him up.
All right.
They're both good to go, and I think they kind of go right from where they left off at the end of last season, where they were both playable, startable. Every week.
The only I don't know if this is, I'm not sure what the statistics on this. Matt can probably help me with this, but I bet you the people that it affects most are the Ben Watsons, the Michael Thomases, the Traquan Smiths, the Cameron Merediths.
Yeah, we might see.
I'd worry more about the ancillary pieces than someone like Michael Thomas, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, just the distribution is going to be less consolidated.
Yeah, I mean, they played a lot of RB. They played two
Absolutely,
RBs.
both of them on the field for sure.
You know, they played. We saw Breida and Morrison a bit last week. We see two RBs.
The Lions have been putting in 3 running backs in their formations, putting both Blunt and Carry-On in the backfield, and then throwing Theo out wide. It's like, what are wide
which
receivers?
is weird
because
they have 3 producing
wide receivers at the same time. People are switching it up, and the Saints rely on these guys, both of them.
If they did 4 RBs, would they just take away their center or like have a running back hike the ball to a running back?
They don't like have a
that's how
Riddick lined up at tackle. We'll see it.
It's like do you remember that Michigan play where it was like 12 men or 11 men lined up, one behind each other for That's what it is. Just
or like the Ravens used Lamar Jackson last night. You could pretty much bet when he was in there as a quarterback, he was actually going to act more like a running back.
They
end up getting
are
first
building
down.
up for something because he's going to drop back and he's going to toss a bomb to
I
John
think,
Brown right before our eyes. I
love
it
it
this week, but it's going to happen.
Exactly. They're building the film.
That.
Exactly. They're building. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So with that, we are into the things that the Draftaholics do best. It's the thing where we bring out an air basketball for no apparent reason. Thank you, Will. Ooh. Oh, look at that crossover. Even with the bum finger, he shoots and he scores. Thank you very much. It's the Draftaholics Quickshots, guys. This is where we break down our favorite and least favorite plays of the weekend. We start off with our cash smash. This is, if you were playing just a few lineups in DFS, you could have this player in every single one. He is worth the price. He is going to be number one, a number one type at his position. William, start us off. Cash smash. It's too easy this week.
It is a little bit too easy, and I'm happy.
Zoom through.
I'm happy I got him in our draft as well. My cash smash is Melvin Gordon. He's going up against the Raiders, who rank 5th in combined line yards, which is an interesting stat that kind of puts together the average line yards for the offensive line, adjusted line yards for the offensive line versus the opposing defensive line. It shows that the Chargers should be able to get some push from Melvin. It's going to be another high-scoring game. They are the second highest over-under this week, second to the Falcons and Steelers game. He's not game script dependent, Melvin Gordon. Even though Eckler is ascending in the pass-catching running back area, he still has 34 targets to Austin Eckler's 14. And even in the red zone, Melvin has 9, Eckler has 3.
Wow.
They're both performing, but Melvin is catching the ball more. So he is completely matchup proof. He's going to score you 25 points minimum, I'll call it. He's cheaper than Gurley. Kamara isn't on the slate. I feel like you have to have either Gurley or Gordon in your lineup this week.
Or both.
Yeah, or both. Yeah, so if you're choosing between Gurley the second and Melvin the third, give me Melvin the third.
And I'm going to keep it real short and simple. Todd Gurley, we just saw them play each other, Gurley and Gordon, and until further notice, RB1s every single week. Cue it up. The Rams offense is tremendous. Tops in yards, touchdowns, points. The highest consolidation of 3 people having the most amount of targets and air yards.
Talk about efficiency.
It's awesome to see Jared Goff playing so well, and the running back is in a position to have quality touches every single game, and that player, Todd Gurley, is tremendous.
Yep.
End of story. Cash smash. I've used him up for the one time I can use him this year, and that's that. George, get even chalkier. Let's go.
Yeah, let me read you some stats from some wide receivers. 15 receptions for 124 yards, 14 receptions for 102 yards. Oh, wait, I'm getting a note. Oh, those were running backs against the Falcons. Wow, fire up your James Conner. He's had 5 receptions every week, except for last week where he had 3, with a weird negative. I don't know, the Ravens game was weird. But Gio just had 2 touchdowns against them. The word on the street is the Falcons cannot stop running backs getting receptions. James Conner may break 10 receptions this week, and not to mention another 15 touches on the ground. Cash smash, fire.
I like the call.
And the time for him to prove himself is apparently short. We're just hearing this week that it looks like week 7. Le'Veon Bell coming back from that holdout. We'll see what happens there.
There's still so much up in the air, but
the trade rumor is still swirling. Yeah, right now, week 5.
Can I? Let me throw a question out to both of y'all. A side note. Let's say James Conner continues playing the way he is, excluding week 4, where he's a very solid play, and a good player. If he continues and stays as healthy as he is, do we see a running back by committee starting week 8?
Very concerned about it. Yeah. I'm very concerned that what they do, even just out of spite, is say, you know what, we were going to run you into the ground, Le'Veon, but instead, we're just not going to play you.
Yeah.
We're going to lower your value by saying you're not that important.
We have no idea what to expect.
But I'm not sure. Like, I'm really not sure. You might just like get a player like Lev Bell back in the building and just be like, hey, buddy. You know, as Antonio Brown, they consider him family. At least a couple weeks ago, they considered him family, and they might just welcome him back into the fold.
Yeah.
And him and his evaded tackles per touch. I can speak. I promise. Will be right back into the Steelers' backfield. But we can't really bet on it. We certainly can't bet on it in Week 5. James Conner, catch, smash. I want to go right back to you, George, because even chalkier than what you just said is a very odd faded glory, but I want to hear your response to why.
Yeah, I'm going to fade Saquon Barkley against the Panthers.
Wow.
The Panthers had a week off. They apparently a lot of the team went to the Bahamas. They're really relaxed. They all got nice massages.
What kind of beds are they sleeping in, George?
No pictures from boats, though, right?
Sleep number, no beds. Sleep number beds. Williams Sonado, 2 N's, 1 T. The Carolina is 10th in points allowed to the running back position. The Panthers defense held Ezekiel Elliott and Gio Bernard to under 80 rushing yards in weeks 1 and 3, respectively. The Giants' offense was inefficient to say the least. Yesterday, week 4, only 1 touchdown was scored for Mr. Saquon Barkley. He had an amazing over the pile jump, but it was weird. The Giants really didn't cross the 50-yard line very often. It was like they were allergic to it. Saquon did have, he gets a very nice floor with passing work.
That target.
But I think the Panthers are going to scheme for Saquon Barkley and will put the ball in Eli's hands. I think they want to see Eli make those tough throws.
He's throwing it to Barkley.
Yeah, he is throwing it to Barkley, and I think that Saquon still may have six or seven receptions for 70 yards, but I don't see him getting in the end zone this week, and I don't see him getting 100 yards combined this week.
Interesting. I think that is very good advice, especially if you're playing in DFS. He's going to be so highly owned.
Right.
A big fade call like that can actually be very beneficial. I'm going to go with Golden Tate here. He had a beautiful touchdown, just waltzed into the end zone. He tends to have these
classic
monster
Golden Tate,
yak touchdowns where he like backflips
he sure does.
in. I mean, just so much like Stephon Diggs level swag.
Looking like the best player on the field as he's doing it. It's amazing.
But I want to say that this is not going to be his week for week 5. And I'm kind of going against some of the stats I'm looking at. DVOA actually seems like it would favor a Golden Tate matchup this week when they play Green Bay. But I am really impressed with the Green Bay defensive backfield. Cornerbacks Josh Jackson as well as Jari Alexander were added to the fold from the draft, and they've got a healthier core this week coming up than they've had in the several weeks leading up to it. Now, they didn't have a tough test against the Bills at all. Kelvin Benjamin didn't even play the full game. He was forced to miss time. But I really think that this is a test game. This is one of those games where we're going to see is the Green Bay investment in that cornerback position worth it, because Galladay and Jones and Tate are coming. I think they focus on Tate first. They shut him down, force those running backs and the 2 other receivers, Jones and Galladay, to beat them with big targets, deep targets. So no Tate for me this week. I totally get if you disagree with me, however.
I like it, especially with the way that they're using Carry-On. I feel like they're maybe ticking away at the ability to have 3 performing wide receivers every single week.
Low ADOT targets moving away from Tate some weeks.
Sure. My fade this week is Kareem Hunt. First of all, I want to point out that the Chiefs are all kind of priced down a little bit this week facing the Jags.
Right.
Mahomes is the 7th most expensive quarterback. Tyreek is the 12th most expensive wide receiver. So I think there's some value there in those guys specifically, but somebody that I'm not going to play either way is Kareem. I feel like he has totally lost his floor that he had in the past with pass catching. If you guess how many targets he's had so far this year, you will be shocked to hear that it's only been 3.
As many as hosts on the Draftaholics.
Exactly. It's 3 targets. So if he's only being used in the run game against Jacksonville, who's 7th in DVOA against the run, I don't think he's going to be able to get things started like he has to in order to have one of those big productive weeks. He's going to be completely touchdown dependent, and I think those touchdowns are going to come via deep balls to Tyreek Hill. So I'm not interested in the goal line hope in this game, which is all you can really expect
2 goal line
from
touchdowns
Kareem
last week.
Right,
Yep.
yeah, exactly. I don't think that you can expect that out of him, so he's my fade this week. He's not super expensive, but I think he's actually going to perform so poorly yardage-wise that if he doesn't get the touchdowns as well, it's going to be a complete flop.
Now, just so it's your first time listening, you understand DVOA. That stands for Defensive Value Over Average. It's from Football Outsiders.
Amazing stat.
FootballOutsiders.com. It basically compares the production or the lack of production on any given play, a down distance score differential, and compares it to the rest of the league on that type of play.
Right.
So
it's actually from what I heard, it's pronounced the same in French as devoir.
Ah.
Oh.
That's
Now,
interesting. We'll start referring to it
go,
that way and confuse our listeners even more.
Yeah.
Devoir.
Wow. Okay.
Dwa versus the Pa running back?
I gotta move
No,
on.
okay.
I'm gonna lose it. Okay, here we go. After Faded Glory, it's the floor play. We sometimes call it ugly touches. This is a player that's not necessarily priced correctly in the sense that they may not have that weak winning upside, although they have a shot. But we feel like they provide a way to give you just value so that you can use your salary elsewhere and they're going to be fine. Austin Eckler is such a great choice. I hate to toot my own horn too much, but he's nowhere near RB18 in price. Finishing RB18, that's the kind of value for floor play.
Right.
So I'll start us off. It's probably TJ Yeldon. I know Leonard Fournette may be available, and in which case I would kind of slide him in if healthy, at least in DFS. Still nervous season-long owners, but I think that TJ Yeldon, despite his price being pretty darn high, he's in the top 24, he's going to be worth it against a Chiefs team that will score some points. This will not be a typical Jaguars score. I think that both teams are going to be needing touchdowns, and I think that chunk yardage through the ground and passes to the running backs are going to be one of the ways that they try to exploit the Jaguars. Kendall Fuller, is the cornerback for the Chiefs, who they acquired with the Washington team for Alex Smith this January. And he's actually been the most productive cornerback, the best cornerback for the Chiefs. So I think that stops Keelan Cole from getting some of his low average depth of targets, which frees up the TJ Yeldon zone. May see some Austin Seferian-Jenkins as well. Short targets are going to be the way that they try to attack. TJ Yeldon lines up perfectly, plus that rushing floor. There is my floor play. So, George, how about you?
I don't usually like choosing a tight end as a floor play.
You hate tight ends.
He really does.
Especially, I'm not a tight end guy, and I'll leave that aside. I really thought Njoku was the savior this year, and he still may be. But the floor play is Zach Ertz for me. He's had at least 5 receptions every week, and 2 of the last 3 weeks he's had over 10 receptions. Yesterday he had 10 receptions for 112 yards. 3 games ago, he had 11 receptions for 94 yards, and smack in between the two was 5 receptions for 73 yards. The Vikings are known for their defense, with guys like Harrison Smith, so I will expect a lower production for those like Alshon Jeffrey and Jordan Matthews. But the Vikings D is middle of the pack for the tight end. They're the 15th best in tight end defense, or defense against tight ends. Jimmy Graham had 6 receptions for almost 100 yards in week 2 against the Vikings. Mm-hmm. George Kittle put up that wow, George Kittle, he's the new tight end 1 performance with 5 receptions for 90 yards week 1. My money's on Zach Ertz. Every week, every year I say I don't need to draft Zach Ertz, I don't need to draft Kelsey, or one of those top tier tight ends, but he is one you can always trust on and trust. And it's going to be Zach Ertz this week.
Yeah, I really like that he moved from our faded glory. He proved a bad matchup did not matter at all, and now we're just like, cue him up, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just put him in the cash mass floor play.
He proves us wrong. Yeah, why not?
I agree. Speaking of a return to relevancy for the Draftaholics, who you got here? I see a familiar name.
Yeah, my floor play is Mr. David Johnson. You might have heard of him in the last couple years, but this year it's been hard to be a David Johnson fan. Last week though, he finally got what he needed: 25 touches. He had, I believe, 20 carries and 5 receptions. It means we can finally hope for David Johnson-like involvement in Week 5 against the 49ers.
What you drafted him for
exactly.
in season-long leagues.
The 49ers ranked 25th in DVOA against the run, and they give up points to the running back through the air, where we know David Johnson can be dynamic. On Monday night they played the Bears, I believe, in week 3, and there was a play where he completely juked out 3 Bears defensive players. It's ridiculous. He can make stuff happen in open space, so that's where we're going to see some opportunity for him. Do we trust Arizona to give him the targets again? I don't know. Maybe not. But the price on DraftKings is only $6,500, 12% of your budget. If you want to pay up for maybe Gurley and Gordon, then you can slip David Johnson in your flex. I feel like you're really set at running back with a floor like that in your flex play. I think David Johnson with 20 touches minimum, that's what I'm going to call this week. That's a floor play. That's someone who can also explode, but
it also says something to how we're feeling about David Johnson even just a few weeks in.
Right.
We wouldn't even allow you to put him as a floor play. He would be cash smash only at the beginning of the year.
Exactly. But at this point,
variance.
Yes, and now that the usage has changed again, like that was the worry, was that he was not being used in the receiving game. He was only running up the middle. He wasn't getting that minimum touches that you need for an electric player like David Johnson. When he has more than 20 touches, he performs in fantasy. He's going to have a floor this week.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about his usage, right? His Kyle usage?
His Kyle usage, yes, exactly.
They're both going to share the field on Sunday. So David Johnson, the redemption tour really starts its way up. He'll be a cash smash in no time. The floor play from Mr. W. Spinato. So we move on to our moonshot. That's the pick that we believe is going to have the breakout week. We picked a perfect one with Trey Burton last week. Put him in our one lineup to rule them all and gave me some Draftaholics Quickshot points there as well. I'm going to start off with Kiki Kuti. Kiki Kuti! Okay, guys. He was the one who came in for Will Fuller when his hamstring got hurt. We're just seeing on Roto World blurbs that it wasn't just precautionary that they kept Will Fuller out. They are concerned about him re-injuring that hamstring over and over. In steps Kiki Kuti with Bruce Ellington on IR and DeAndre Hopkins soaking up all of the defensive backs' concern. It's the rookie's time.
Yeah.
He was drafted in the middle rounds. He was picked to have immediate impact, and I believe that he will get a large percentage of short area targets that Watson typically throws well. I saw that he received more than 70% of the negative air yards targets. Those are forward passes that don't reach the line of scrimmage because the quarterback was even further back than that. Obviously, those get caught at a much higher percentage than 50%.
Yeah.
So great for your PPR folks. And he was able to take it, get a huge gain out of a few of them. Just takes one play, one touchdown, one overcompensation towards DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
And Kiki Kuti scores your moonshot TD and gets you a quick shot.
I really like the way you're saying this, but I have heard some people say Kiki Cutie before, so
I don't even care if I'm wrong.
Yeah. It can be a Draftaholics thing now.
We'll look it up and get his name right, but I had too much fun.
So it's a moonshot TD for Kiki.
See?
A moonshot Kuti. Kuti.
Who's your moonshot, George?
It's Kiki Kuti.
Oh, really?
No,
Jinx.
My moonshot is a combination of Geronimo Allison and Marquez Valdez Scantling.
Yeah, Geronimo Allison left with a concussion, yes.
Right, so if he's out,
he sure did. So Geronimo exited with a concussion for week 4. I hope he makes it through the protocol. Randall Cobb has a hammy injury. We learned today on Monday that Randall Cobb was actually nowhere near suiting up, and that kept him out for week 4, and it doesn't sound promising for his week 5 status. Geronimo had 11 targets through 3 quarters yesterday, 6 catches, 80 yards. The Lions defense is good, but don't forget week 1 against the Jets, Enunwa had 6 catches for 63 yards and a touchdown.
They're susceptible. Absolutely.
It's acceptable, but they're 2 names that actually are distantly associated, yet still associated with Geronimo and MVS, and that's Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers. The fact that Aaron Jones is back, I think, is a huge boost to Geronimo because you now have to respect the run game. I don't think people respected Jamal Williams. I don't think people necessarily respect Ty Montgomery, especially as a workhorse back. He's obviously that third down running back, pass catching back. Yep. But Aaron Jones, he's showing himself already with a touchdown and good usage the first week. I only think that will rise, and as that rises, people will respect the run game scheme for that, and I think people like Geronimo will become more open.
Hey, I really like that call. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling, the first of 3 wide receivers drafted in the 2018 draft. We keep talking about the whole Green Bay Packers draft class here on the Draftaholics Week 5 episode here, but I believe that either can really have a breakout game. Although Geronimo Allison had a few great catches last week against the Bills. So if he's healthy, I think fire him up. He's a great moonshot and a great DFS pivot from Devontae Adams.
Yeah, sure.
Finish us here with the final moonshot, William.
My moonshot is a homer pick in Mr. Buck Allen. The Browns are 31st in DVOA against pass-catching running backs, or Devois against... Devois,
we're not good at French yet.
Anyway, sorry. So
you ready? Wait. Let's practice it once. You ready?
Devois. Yes, they're 31st in Devois against pass-catching running backs. We know the Browns can give up points over the middle. It's usually a safe bet to play a tight end against the Browns, but the Ravens have 15 tight ends with the return of Hayden Hurst this week, so it's kind of hard to throw some money on one of them. And in terms of pass-catching running backs, Buck Allen has caught 21 passes so far this year. Alex Collins only has 10. So it feels like there's only one option there, or maybe like a little bit more. But you can definitely bet a little bit on Buck Allen.
What were you saying, George?
It doesn't hurt that Alex Collins missed drop fumble on the goal line.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to talk about.
They trust Buck Allen.
Can't have that.
And it actually has happened once before this year. And my mom texted me this morning, asked me if I watched the game.
Hardcore Ravens fan.
Exactly. Yeah. She flew us to London last year to see them get destroyed by Jacksonville. But anyway, she was like, Alex Collins is in trouble. So if my mom is saying that, it's Buck Allen week. In the red zone, Alex Collins has had some more targets. He's had 4 to Buck's 2. But if he can't hold on to the ball, I think it's going to be a Buck week for sure.
I love that story. Yeah. Miss Spinato is off of Alex Collins.
She is off of Alex Collins. She doesn't care about his Irish dancing. She's saying it's an issue. The entire city of Baltimore is worried about Alex Collins holding on to the ball.
Don't worry about Justin Tucker though. He still can make a lot of field goal.
Beast.
That right leg is something
golden.
Else. Yeah.
Tuck-matic.
One of the best players in the NFL at what he does. Period. One of the best players in the NFL, period.
Yeah,
I shouldn't even make that qualification. Those are your Draftaholics quick shots. Those are the best plays of the week. The fades that will help you avoid the trap plays and the trap salaries. Guys, this is the way that you take down week 5. We got one more great thing for you. The one lineup to rule them all.
Hey.
All right. So we are giving you a little bit of bonus content. It's one lineup to rule them all. But we could not decide on these 2 very different lineups. So we're giving you one FanDuel lineup, one DraftKings lineup, there. So I'll start us off here with the FanDuel favorite lineup. This is a little bit more of a tournament play, but I love this take here. So we start with 3. How many? You heard it. Wide receivers from the Rams. 3. Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp. That in itself is a little bit of a fade on Todd Gurley, and then we run it back. That means we use a player from their opponent in the same lineup with Russell Wilson, the quarterback playing for the Seahawks, of course. That's the defense going against the Rams this week. Then we're extremely chalky, a lot of high ownership running backs here. Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, and this is the matchup play. I usually like the fade matchups, but I do think Kerryon Johnson sees more playing time, more opportunity. It keeps going up and up. This guy could be a star. So I'm going to play him until his salary increases to that RB1 level. I feel like against the Packers, he has a great chance to blow up. Vance McDonald is the budget tight end, and the Tennessee Titans against the Bills. So if you are on YouTube, you can actually see the percentages for each of those players, but you'll see that we came up with 99.3% of our total budget there on FanDuel, really using up just about everything there. We like to be over 99%. That is the best there. But William, I want to hear the more cash. Yeah, it's a little bit more cash
oriented,
lineup oriented for
and
DraftKings.
Plus, we can't afford that lineup that Matt just mentioned on DraftKings.
Oh,
it's
good
106% of the salary. And if you kind of want to pivot again away from all three Rams like that, I feel like there's some more opportunity in this here DraftKings lineup. Our quarterback is Blake Bortles, who I feel like is an interesting floor play. You can't really choose which of the wide receivers to bet on, but Bortles is definitely going to spread it around, definitely going to score through the air.
He's going to have to score.
Yeah. And then in our running back slots, we were able to slip in Gurley and Gordon,
Boom.
the second and the third respectively. And in our flex, we got who Matt just talked about in Kerryon Johnson. So I really feel good about our running backs there. We were able to go a little cheaper on the wide receivers to afford those two guys at running back. We're gonna bet on Doug Baldwin's return last week being a little bit of an underperformance and him popping back up to that wide receiver 1 position going against.
We want the fantasy points being the only thing that pops.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. But going against the Rams, like Matt was talking about in the other lineup, I feel like it's a really good play. Sterling Shepard is still affordable without Ingram. He's a really good option in the Giants. Since George is fading Saquon Barkley, I mean, obviously we should play Sterling Shepard. And then our last wide receiver, who I really like this play, is Mohamed Sanu. I feel like he has the actual receptions and targets to score more consistently than someone like Calvin Ridley. It's a little bit of a fade on him there. We plugged in Jared Cook at tight end, a little more expensive than Vance McDonald in that other lineup, but the usage is so strong. We like that pick. And then we've got the Jets defense, who have been playing really well. They're on the cheaper side, but we were able to afford. It is a little scary. The defense was not pretty to pick from this year. I feel like it might be smarter to save some money for your defense this week. We kind of learned that as we were going through, and it might be some tinkering that we do ourselves. As we've talked about often, this is an early look at our one lineups of rule and all. There should be some tinkering that you do, and it might be at defense here this week.
Yeah. Thank you for breaking that down, Will. And that gets us over 99% of our full salary there on DraftKings. Mm-hmm. George, I want your opinion. If you're playing one of these two lineups, the FanDuel triple Ram one or the DraftKings Gurley Gordon Kerryon stack, which one do you prefer?
Man, I would have loved the Rams one had we played JoJo Natson, Josh Reynolds, and Kaderil Hodge.
What?
Right, okay. Just all in.
Did we not talk about that? I thought those were the 3 wide receivers we were playing from the Rams.
I did get that email from you early this morning, but I don't think it got into our final show notes here.
I somehow missed that memo. Shocking.
I'd probably say I like the Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon one. Mostly for the ancillary pieces. I'm excited to see. I'm not excited to see. I like that lineup. I like Sanu. I like Shepard. I like a sneaky Baldwin after having, as y'all said, a welcome back week where he was slowly coming in. Jared Cook is weirdly a very good tight end all of a sudden. Matt, as you said, Kerryon's going to be running back 1 cost in probably a couple weeks. I'm sure we'll see him over 7,000 or 7,500 soon, depending on your site. So I like that.
Yeah, so buy now.
He's cheaper on DraftKings as well.
Yeah.
Johnson.
Honestly, I think 3 wide receivers is just one too many. I can buy the Tyler Boyd, AJ Green stack last week against a terrible Falcons defense, but 3 may be one too much, especially since Kaderil Hodge isn't in there.
I don't. What, George?
I think we need to change your mood shot this week, George.
Yeah, that's it right there. The Draftaholics going deep with their moonshot picks in week 5. Folks, it has been another great episode of the Draftaholics. Thanks so much for checking us out. That was 2 lineups to rule them all. It doesn't matter which site you prefer, that full PPR of DraftKings or the FanDuel half PPR style. It's been awesome to break down this slate. Again, we're getting this information early in the week. Mesh that with all of the famous adjudicators, fantasy analysts that you know and love. And then you will find a great set of players to make up your player pool to take down that $1 million contest.
Yeah, make some money.
Let's do it. Week 5. We will see you soon. We will be on to week 6 before you know it. Again, no Chicago, no Tampa Bay this weekend. I am your host, Matt Savoca, at Draftaholic on Twitter. look to the fantasy porthole.
Whoa.
Hi, at George Floatin. Hey, side note, go Braves. I can't say that in October very often. So the Braves are starting this weekend. Let's do it.
The playoffs.
Yeah, happy for your Braves in that that weird sport that they use a
That's
club
right.
for. Oh man. And who we got across?
I'm William Spinato at W Spinato on Twitter with 2 N's and just 1 T.
Hey, thanks so much for checking us out. You can always check out Twitter or Instagram at Draftaholics Pod. That's where we hang out, guys. Thank you very much. Enjoy week 5. And remember, you're only as good
As your last pick. Deuces.
Bye, guys.